All right, boys and girls, we're practicing geometry this week, and today's lesson is going to be on right angles. Okay, angles are part of polygons, and depending on how many sides you have, if you have a three-sided polygon, you will have three angles. If you have a four-sided polygon, you'll have four angles, and it follows a long line. The number of sides equals the number of angles. So a right angle is an angle formed when two lines come together to form a square corner. So here's one line, and I'm going to draw another line to come meet it. And if I look there, I can draw a square corner. And that's what makes a right angle. Right there is my right angle. Square corner makes a right angle. Now I'm going to give you a couple non-examples of right angles. Okay. So again, I'm going to start with a line, and remember an angle is formed when two lines meet. And I'm going to draw another line, and I'm going to come down and meet that. So here we do have another angle, but if I try to draw a right angle in there, or a square corner, I just can't do it. That is not a square. That's kind of like a trapezoid. Okay, so that is not a right angle. And now I'm going to draw one more for you. So remember, an angle is when two lines meet. So there's one line. I'm going to draw another one up to meet it. And boy, oh boy, believe it or not, that is another angle. And I'm going to try to draw a square corner in there. And you can kind of tell by looking at it, that is just not a square either. Again, we have kind of a trapezoid. So what do we have here, boys and girls? We have one example of a right angle, and we have two non-examples. So we're going to call this one, this very first one, we're going to call it a right angle because it forms a square corner. We're going to call the next one less than a right angle. It's not a right angle, and it's actually smaller than a right angle. So we say it's less than a right angle. And then our very last one, this one here, we're going to say that that is greater than a right angle. If we were to compare it to the size of our right angle over here, you can see that it is greater than a right angle. And the way we indicate angles that are not right angles when we draw shapes is we just kind of draw a curved line like that, and that indicates angles that are not right angles. If they're right angles, we draw a square. If they're not right angles, we just draw a curved shape. Okay, so we're going to go on and we're going to do our practice page for today. I'm going to clear these drawings, and I am going to share a different whiteboard, or share my screen rather, desktop, and we'll have your page in front of it. Okay, so here's the worksheet for today. Are the angles right angles? And we have 4 times 3, we have 12 different polygons, and they are all polygons because they all have straight sides and they're closed figures. And we're going to sort them into this worksheet on the right. If you have them cut out, that's great. Then you can glue them or tape them. That's what I did with my page at home. If you don't, I'm going to quickly draw numbers in these. And that way you can just write the numbers in the columns to the right. If you don't have scissors at home, I know you might not have your materials at home. So I'm going to label each shape with a number. And if you want to do that on your page, you can as well, especially if you don't have scissors. Okay. You might have also gotten a page in your packet with numbered shapes, so you can use that one if you want to. If you don't want to take time to label all these. Okay, we're going to look at each one of these polygons, and we're going to determine if it has no right angles, some right angles, or all right angles. So we'll start with number 1, and I certainly see some right angles there. For example, this is a right angle, square corner. This is a right angle, square corner. This is a right angle. So it looks to me like it has all right angles until I get to this area here. And now I've got this little angle here, and then I've got a great big angle here, and another big angle here. So if we have to determine which column this is going to go in, number one, it has some right angles because it has 4 right angles and then it has 3 that are not right angles. So go ahead and glue your shape there, or you can just write number 1 in some right angles. Let's go on to number 2. I'm going to try to draw a square corner in here, but that is not a square corner. Matter of fact, none of these are square corners. So I'm going to just show the angles like this with the curved lines. And so we would put number 2 in no right angles because there are no square corners there. Give you a minute to tape that. Okay, let's look at number 3. This is a triangle. And if I look at the angles, I can't make any square corners. Matter of fact, each one of those is less than a right angle. So number 3 would go into the column labeled no right angles. There are no right angles or square corners in that shape. Remember, boys and girls, too, you can always pause this video if I'm going too fast for you and you need to catch up. Okay, let's go on to number 4. Number 4 looks like a pretty simple shape. Looks like a square that's kind of been turned on its side. But again, it does have 4 right angles. So we're going to put number 4 in all right angles. Okay. And that's one feature of squares. Squares have 4 right angles. Number 5 is a polygon. Remember, it's closed figure with no curved sides, all straight sides. It has 4 sides, so that makes it a quadrilateral. And if I look at the angles, it indeed has all right corners. And this particular polygon quadrilateral is called a rectangle. So it has a lot of attributes. We can call it a polygon. We can call it a quadrilateral. We can call it a rectangle, and it has all right angles. So we'll put number 5 right here. Okay, our next shape is a polygon because it has straight sides and it's closed, but it only has 3 sides. So we don't call it a quadrilateral. The shape is called a triangle. Tri means 3. And if I look at the corners, or if I look at the angles rather, I'm going to see, are there any angles where I could draw a square corner? And this one right here looks like I could draw a square corner. The other 2, I cannot. So I just indicate that they're angles like this. So number 6 does have some right angles. It has 1, so we're going to put number 6 in the middle column here. Okay, let's go on to number 7. Number 7 is a polygon. You can name it a couple other things too. Has 4 sides, so it's called a, that's right, it's called a quadrilateral. It has 1 set of parallel sides. The top and the bottom are parallel, so we're going to call it a trapezoid as well. But if we look at the angles, which is what this lesson is about, I don't see any square corners. They're either less than a right angle, this one and this one, or they're greater than a right angle. So number 7 has no right angles. Give you a minute to get that written or glued in the right spot. Okay, number 8. This is a polygon because it's a closed figure with all straight sides. I'm going to count the number of sides. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's got 5 sides, so it is not a quadrilateral. A 5-sided polygon is called a pentagon. Now I'm going to look specifically at the angles, and this looks like a nice square corner here, and so does this one. But if I go down here to this angle, that is definitely not a square corner, and neither are these. So this is another example of a polygon that has some right angles. So we'll put number 8 in the middle column, some right angles. Number 9 is kind of tricky, has a lot of square corners or right angles. And I can identify a lot of them by drawing these squares in them. And so you might say, yeah, it has all right angles, except for we forgot. Remember in angles where two lines meet? Well, two lines meet right here, and the angle runs from here over to here. That is not a right angle. Matter of fact, that is much greater than a right angle. So for number 9, that's another example of a shape with some right angles. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right angles, but then it has one angle that is greater than a right angle. Okay, let's go on to number 10. It's a polygon with 4 sides. We call that a quadrilateral. And if I look at it, it looks like these 2 angles on the bottom. You can draw square corners in, so those 2 are right angles. These are not right angles at the top. So I would call that a shape with some right angles. Put number 10 in the middle column. Okay, going on to number 11. This has got a lot of sides. I'm going to count them so I'd see if I can name it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It has 8 sides. And do you remember what we call an 8-sided polygon? That's right, it's called an octagon. Now I'm going to look at this octagon and see if it has any square corners. None of these angles look like one where I could draw a square. Matter of fact, they are all greater than a right angle. So we're going to put 11 in no right angles. And then last but not least, we're back to another 4-sided polygon. A quadrilateral has a special name. It is called a rectangle, and rectangles have 4 right angles. So number 12, we can draw 4 square corners in for the 4 right angles, and we would put number 12 in the column labeled all right angles. All right, boys and girls, I hope that helped clear up any misunderstandings you might have about right angles. And I look forward to seeing you again.